Welcome to You Rolled a One, a Professor Epic Productions. Last episode, our party left Amberstone Abbey and snuck to Vardent Hollow through the night. The bonds of friendship are strengthening in our party. Demeclees and Manx work together to scope out and plot all of the weak points in the fortress, knowing a fight was to come. A clever use of an illusion spell by Demeclees allowed Nictor to gain the advantage on the goblin standing on duty, allowing the party to capture the goblin and bring him back to Seafall. Our party has been split for this episode. Manx and Sly have been given a separate mission by the Tamir, and we'll catch up with them in episode 4. But now, as dawn breaks, we're going to catch up with Demeclees, Nictor, and Axel as they help raise the banners. Axel and Nictor awake in the early morning, realizing quickly that Sly, Grimehook, and Manx are not to be found. Axel and Nictor, there's just the two of you in your room.
Weren't there 4 of us in this room?
Yeah, we have a lot more shoulder space here, don't we? Feels like we're missing 2 of our people. What was that ranger's name again? Slimebook? Grimehook?
Yeah, he is a sly one. Maybe he slunk away for breakfast and didn't tell us.
Well, he better have saved us bacon. And he took his loot friend with him.
The elf is gone, yes. Should we go look for him?
I guess we better.
Okay, so we exit the room.
As you exit the room, you can see that the inn is bustling with activity. You can see down below that Cedric and his brother Alric are discussing over a large map with Saeed on the other side, as they all munch on a platter of sausages and bacon.
Ahoy there! Glad you got some rest. You'll notice that the goblin fellow you brought to us has been properly encouraged to help us. Please come, sit, have some breakfast, and we'll discuss the day's plans.
Right here, sir. Let's eat. I can't wait to hear what this goblin had to say.
Can you pass the bacon?
Demeclees, you are luxuriating in your own feather mattress and lots of pillows in the room next door, which is definitely the only premium suite in the Rusty Tankard Inn.
I'd like to cast Augury up in my room as a ritual, which takes about 30 minutes. I'll be using my cards as sort of the focus, and you receive an omen from an otherworldly entity about the results of a specific course of action that you plan to take, and I think that would be, to me, the decision to go and attack Vardent Hollow.
Now, to start the ritual, I'll just sprinkle out these little specially marked sticks and bones, and I'll put a gold coin over here, and I'll put a bit of bones over here, and then I'll make these sticks into a nice little web pattern, and you, my friend, my little spidery friend, you will tell me whether this plan is good or bad. Venomous spinner, weaver of fate, lend me your sight. Show me the paths that lie ahead in shadows or in light. Now go, little one, walk upon the web of fate and reveal which threads we follow. Oh, you move towards the gold coin. This bodes well for our plans. Oh, but not so fast. You tread also toward the bones. This means it's going to be very costly. Oh, you're spelling out an E. Well, what could that mean? E. Elric. Yes, I see you stopped. That's the name, isn't it? It's Elric. Elric will be the one who is doomed. Well, thank you, little one, for your information.
So Nictor, as you and Axel descend the stairs and sit at the table, there is fruit, bacon, eggs, sausages, muffins, you name it, and a very, very large
portly chef manages to squeeze his way out with yet another pile of food, like heaped high on a tray.
Here you are, my lords. Fresh out of the oven. Enjoy.
Thank you, chef. Thank you.
This is some of the... I'm just like stuffing muffins into my mouth, talking with a mouthful. This is some of the best food I've ever had.
Why, thank you. You look like you know how to eat at least a few muffins with those muscles. I'm Chef Moyardee.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and yeah, I'm gonna absolutely put your skills to the test, as I rifle bacon into my throat.
Thank you, Mr. Morardi.
He turns after the initial conversation, and you can see that he is about as wide as he is tall. An incredibly portly man wearing a flopped over chef's hat. Every movement seems like it strains all the buttons on his shirt and pants at the same time, and it's almost incredible that he moves almost at all, but he does actually seem to be able to move more freely on his feet than he looks like he probably should, but he is an absolute cannonball of a man.
Now that's the sign of a good chef if I've ever seen one.
Just as you guys are continuing to eat the muffins, Cedric and Alaric both stand up and kind of dust the crumbs off of themselves. Cedric turns to the party.
Enjoy your breakfast, gents. You've earned it. When you're ready, meet me next door in the Hammer and Anvil. I'll be getting fitted for plate. I've raised the Kraken banner, symbol of House Stormrider. Able-bodied souls of Seafall are now getting prepared to march to Vardent Hollow and root out that goblin scum. While you eat your breakfast, tell my brother here any extra information that maybe we didn't get from that goblin captive you brought back. All information is good information. He'll relay anything needed to me, and we'll march at midday. I take it that Vardent Hollow is a good half-day's walk from here. Mara be with you.
And with that, Cedric walks from the tavern, leaving just Alaric sitting at the table with you, munching some bacon.
What else did you learn when you discovered Vardent Hollow, gentlemen? And spare no detail.
Okay, so I would just fly after wiping the food shrapnel from my face. Yeah, we went there just as a reconnaissance, and through the help of our feathered friend, there are, and I'm actually going to pull out a piece of paper out of my pocket. It looks like there's roughly 200 able-bodied goblins fitted for combat, about 150 females and pre-adolescent goblins, and it looks like some of the hobgoblin leaders were wearing Ravenshield's yellow cloaks.
200 combatants confirms what we got out of the goblin, though he had omitted that there was any non-combatants. They won't probably pose too much of a problem for us, so I won't be too concerned about that. And 200 goblins is something that I think we can deal with, of course, the proper plan and training. Tell us about this fortress itself, and then we'll come back to the question of Ravenshield. It's a little too early to have conclusive evidence of that, but tell us more about the fortress.
Yes, I remember the stonework built from the people of the Old Kingdom. Nothing that was built in recent times. You're already preparing for war here.
My brother Cedric vowed to get revenge on those goblins when they attacked Seafall. He now seeks to honor that promise. He has raised the Kraken banner, gathering some 200 fighting souls here, as well as the members of the Tide Guard, his personal warrior bodyguard. We also must recapture our Driftwood Crown. You see, it acts as a lighthouse upon Mara's head, and without it, sailors will be dashed upon the rocks, and merchants will not be able to find our port. Its effects on this town will be catastrophic.
Sorry, did I just hear that the crown is actually for a lighthouse?
The crown has gems in it that absorb the sun and glint at night, showing sailors the way to our docks.
So, it's a large keep. It's got towering curtain walls that stand about 25 to 30 feet tall. It's in pretty bad disrepair, and yeah, there are exposed openings. The highest tower there that we clocked was about 40 feet tall, so if you get too close within proximity of that, it'll alert them.
Hold on here a second, Axel. Back up. You said there was holes in the wall? So you got inside the curtain wall, you're saying?
Just right on the edge of it. Like I said, there's a 40-foot tower, so we couldn't get much closer without them noticing us.
and we were able to observe inside.
Are you thinking multiple holes with multiple breach points?
I can't speak on multiple, but we know for certain at least one. There also seemed to be a bizarre, for lack of a better way of putting it, barrier of magical quality that also had a breach in it.
Well, not so much a barrier, but a veil, right?
Yeah, it was more of a veil. Well said, Nictor. Yeah. I'm sorry, this magical stuff escapes me.
Yeah, which is why they were able to at least have a low amount of guards on duty.
A veil. Describe this veil, Nictor, if you can.
Oh, just a shimmering mirage of woods where a castle should be sitting.
Is there any pain or discomfort or anything that disappears when crossing this veil?
I don't recall missing anything.
Maybe slight discomfort, but I wouldn't chalk it up to pain. Definitely feel a magical sense. Though we haven't tried to pass through the veil where there wasn't a breach, so I wouldn't try it if I were you. We actually inspected a waystone, which was on the perimeter of this structure, and it looks to be as though an old elven relic.
The waystone? Interesting. Anything else to note before I go and make those plans with our tide guard?
Oh, I don't think so. The place is old, crumbling. I'm not saying these creatures have been here for a long time. I don't know if they're looking to make a home here, but it doesn't seem like they're passing either.
Oh no, it's quite permanent.
Yes, the number of non-combatants suggests it's more of a whole tribe than just a raiding warband.
And he stands up, dusts himself off.
Enjoy your further breakfast. Chef Moyardi will keep bringing food out until you tell him to stop. Really, that man just wants to cook and eat. In fact, here he is now.
This huge portly man waddled back into the room carrying 2 large trays of sausages and scrambled eggs and muffins and bacon. He sets it down on the table.
Round 2.
Mighty fine.
His buttons right now are still there. And he turns around and tries to waddle back out of the room.
At this point, I'd like to have Demeclees dash down the stairs and run up to them and say,
Ah, good. I still have found you before. I have portents of the future.
Well, first get your protein into you, and I eat more bacon.
Yes, Demeclees. Good morning.
Excellent. I have not lost you to the forces of evil and bacon. I have consulted with the stars and the forces of the future. See, in the deep dead of night, I found myself standing on the edge of an ancient moonlit forest. The towering trees, they loomed like sentinels, and their branches forming a canopy of shadows overhead. In the distance, flickering light beckoned me forward, the glow of a distant campfire. I ventured deeper and deeper, and then I came upon the source of the light. It was Vardent Hollow, shrouded in heavy mist. The hollow was eerily silent, but it pulsated with a sense of impending conflict. At its heart, I witnessed the goblin horde, their campfires casting an ominous glow. Then the skies erupted in flashes of lightning and deafening thunder. Rain poured down in torrents, turning all the earth into mud. The goblin horde seemed unaware of the impending storm. This bodes well for our future, and I have a sense that you have made a decision that is good, sir. Have you decided to attack Vardent Hollow?
We have indeed, and your foresight, Demeclees, is unmatched. That is something my brother was going to discuss with you after breakfast next door at the Hammer and Anvil. But yes, tonight, meet us in the courtyard. Just as dusk, we will walk through the early night, and then...
And he kind of punches the table.
Smash the goblins at Vardent Hollow tonight in a surprise attack.
It is written in the stars, this plan shall be of great success. However, may I tell you, sir, something? I sense upon thee a great burden, a weight upon the heart that is ever getting heavier and heavier. May I say, sir, that you in particular may be in need of some future healing or grand resurrection. Have thee something or someone that might provide a form of magical healing?
It's funny that you mentioned that, Demeclees. Both of our priests of Mara, typically those who would be healers, were killed in the raid by the goblins yesterday. One was stabbed in the church itself, and the other was stabbed in the courtyard in Castle Seafall. In fact, and he gestures to Axel, Axel made a snap decision to protect his laborers, leaving the priest exposed. And so our town, unfortunately, is without a healer right now.
You're going to see remorse in Axel's eyes as he's eating his last strips of bacon, trying not to get lost to the forces of bacon. He's just going to turn and be like, yeah, I think about it every night before I sleep, and I'm going to make sure that I do better in the future when it comes to protecting others.
I do not wish to give this news to thee, but the stars do not lie. They merely tell stories. And if I do see yours ending soon, I wish for that not to happen. May I suggest that you stay close to someone who can heal thee, or perhaps carry with thee some form of potion or poultice to bring thee back.
We have honey salve. I don't think that's going to fix, carotid arteries, but maybe.
Thank you for your concern, Demeclees, but I can assure you I'm fit as an ox. However, we do have a special assignment for you and your companions, Demeclees. I don't want to discuss it here, but see my brother next door in the Hammer and Anvil, and he will discuss the plan with you. I will see you all at dusk.
He gently punches the table one more time, stares at each of you intently for a few seconds, then walks out of the rusty iron tankard.
I'll look at Axel. I'd be eating less bacon if I were you. And then I'll start taking some vegetables off the plate.
With the whole, heart issue theme that's going on and being lost to the forces of bacon, yeah, I would have stopped eating the bacon and maybe made my way to, a stick of celery. But you can tell I'm, very, very reluctant to do that.
Chef Moyardee waddles back in, buttons still intact, but straining with every step.
Ha ha ha! Yet another mouth to feed. What is your name, nobling?
My name is Demeclees. Well, technically, Demeclees, the Future Whisperer, seer of fates and listener of destiny.
Well, Demeclees, I am Moyardee, and I have food for you.
He sets down a platter of food that is roughly the same size as you, piled high with sausages and bacon and eggs on the table.
Do you think this is enough, Demeclees? Or can you see the future and you will need even more?
Even a future whisperer such as myself need not know the future to see that you, sir, have a satisfied customer.
And I'll start munching on one of the sausages.
He grins enthusiastically at you, showing what looks like 9,000 more teeth than he should have in his mouth.
I see a long and happy life for you, sir. Keep smiling and providing abundance wherever you go. And may I suggest a piece of broccoli now and then?
Moyardee slaps a giant meaty hand on the table.
Ha! I like you, Demeclees. You've got a good sense of humor about your son.
And then he kind of turns and starts laughing.
Oh, broccoli.
Funny enough, he's not the one who's going to die of a heart attack.
I'll mention over to Nictor.
I have a little chuckle, but I need my protein, so I take more sausage.
Please, help me with this. I'll have just this here,
And I'll take off one minuscule sausage and maybe 2 potatoes, and then I'll munch upon that and leave the rest.
I will push my tray aside and kind of brush myself off. Still seated at the tavern bench, I'm going to look toward Nictor and ask him, so, Nictor, it seems living amongst the peasants, they live a less glamorous lifestyle, and the thing that gets them by is stories. And I actually heard a story from a strange old man. He mentioned something about the wooden ring, and it was said to be held at the Abbey. Is that something you are interested in?
So you have taken notice of my amber ring.
Yeah, it's unlike anything I've ever seen, and it drew my eye.
Yeah, my very own town of Amberstone happens to house one of the obsidian monks. Sorry, my storytelling is not on par today.
It's okay. You've had a lot of sausage. Sometimes it kind of makes me sleepy.
Well, you're not wrong. I didn't get this strong from not eating sausage. But yes, I was able to prove myself amongst the group and earn my amber ring here.
Well, the reason I bring it up is we were at the Abbey, and honestly, the story had slipped my mind, but seeing your amber ring, it kind of just connected the dots. I think after this goblin raid, we should pay the Abbey another visit and inquire about the wooden ring.
They'd be able to guide me to a worthy next challenge.
But yeah, maybe they could just give you a lead. It's just something that I was mulling over it before I slept last night.
Yeah, I will pursue my path again once more here.
I do have one final question for you, Demeclees.
Yes, what? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to you.
Sorry to interrupt your food. Another thing that's been rolling around the old noggin is to speak of destiny. I guess the thing that I'd like to ask is, does destiny discriminate against non-nobles? I'm trying to think of life like you're describing it as a big picture, and things are set out, and there's glory and valor for those chosen by destiny, but what of the people not chosen? And what makes someone worthy?
Understanding the webs of fate. 'Tis a difficult thing. You see, a spider creates a web that holds its whole body high into the air, right? And see, each of those threads, some are stronger than others. There are bow lines that hold the thing together. But there are also minor connections that create a beatific whole. None of us can see the whole web all at once, but all of us plays a part in supporting the structures. Do not ask fate to give you more weight than you can handle.
That was beautifully said.
This web, would you say it affects the whole world?
Well, you see, where you are on the web, you're the center of everything in some capacity. Just as so is he, and Boyardee over there, he's the center of a large part of his world. And so the things that happen do have ripples and can shake the very foundations of the web. Take heed with your actions, sir, for they do have an impact. The web is far beyond what any one person may glimpse or see. I see some portions of the web, I see some lines of fate, but even I cannot glimpse the web in totality.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think about the day I chose to save my laborers and not the priest. Did I destroy part of the web by not saving his life?
Looking back on whether a line supports or breaks or hinders, you see a spider will simply replace the line if one gets knocked down. If you knock down an entire web, it comes back and builds another one. While there are similarities between one web to the other, each one is its own path and its own unique design. May I also suggest that you look forward towards building the web that you will be on, rather than the ones that have smashed in the past.
Well, that was surprisingly uplifting and kind of optimistic. I like that. Thank you, Demeclees.
I'm actually in the market for a small container. Do you think we might be able to find one in our, what's the name of the blacksmiths again?
The hammer and anvil?
Yes. Do you think they might have perhaps a small canister or a can that I could use? I am looking to collect some small insects and spiders and such. They are useful for various portents. If you only knew the power at which a spider sacrifice may give you to glimpse these webs of the future, you would be fascinated. But it is hard to carry one around on one's fingers. I'll need a little canister. Do you think they might have one, or perhaps build one for me?
Yeah, I don't see that being an issue.
Yes, excellent. I'm quite finished, and you'll see he still has half of the sausage left and only one potato from what he's eaten. He'll basically motion to his owl to come down and sort of eat some of the bacon and some of the other stuff on the plate.
Yep, I'm good too.
Can I pet your owl?
Gently. And don't surprise her. She will nip your fingers.
I slowly approach the owl with trusting hands, and I scratch her behind the ear.
Ironically, she doesn't have foresight either.
That's okay, I only need now sight.
Alright, so to the hammer and anvil?
I go to the washroom before going to the hammer and anvil.
I am ready. Let's head to the hammer and anvil.
So as you guys exit the tavern, Demeclees, you guide the way because you've been to the Hammer and Anvil before, and you know not only is it really easy to find, you can actually see it from the rusty iron tankard. When you open the door, a blast of heat, meaning that the forge is still on inside. Can you guys make a perception check?
I perceived a 6 plus 5, 11 total.
I got a 3, so I think I'm fairly wrapped up with my owl.
It takes a little while for your eyes to adjust to the gloom. Inside, you can see a man standing in the middle of the room, and then what looks like a stockier other entity is kind of fussing around him. He's facing away from you.
I do have night vision. Can I see it? Is it Chef Boyardee getting into battle mode? Kind of hope so.
Chef Boyardee was left at the tavern. You can see that it's a man, and then it's a dwarf that's affixing armor plates to him. Neither of them have noticed you guys come in yet.
I'll wander in, looking about. Excuse me. Hello. Excuse me. Yes, hello. Down here. Down here.
Both heads look up. Cedric turns in his armor.
Ah, Demeclees, welcome to the Hammer and Anvil.
Yes. Very, very nice establishment. I could hear it from across the street. Seems like it's well run and fresh with forges and fire. I believe my companions and I are looking for a few accoutrements to help us with the coming adventure. Perhaps you might be able to help us with that.
Thank you, Demeclees, for coming so quickly to the Hammer and Anvil. You have carried out my orders well, but still none of you are fit for real war. Garrick, pause fastening my plates, and see to these young warriors here. Outfit them with whatever they need. I have a special assignment for you, and we won't have you entering Vardent Hollow without the proper equipment.
Really? Just on your dime, huh? And I'm gonna have like a skeptical look.
Garrick, for a man of his stature, what do you have on hand?
Garrick looks at you up and down and then bustles over to a corner and pulls out a well-made breastplate and hands it to you.
Try this here, human, and it'll at least cover your vital organs.
He taps the breastplate with his knuckles.
Fire-forged steel, this one. My apprentice Zinky made it.
This is of a high quality, one I'm not used to, and as he's trying to put it on me, I'm gonna quickly just like tear off my stonemason's apron, which I've had on this entire time, and just kind of throw it on the ground.
Metal from Fireforge? That must be some pure steel in there.
Aye, Zinky was a fine apprentice. He didn't make too many arms or armors, as he was still mostly making farm tools, but I gotta get these things out of my shop to make way for more of my own creations.
I go, Bratskula, and I give him a knuckle bump and whatever that was in Dwarvish.
He looks at you slightly quizzically, but then also fist bumps you anyway.
Yeah, dwarven pride.
Garrick looks at both you, Nictor, and then he glances over to Demeclees and then does a double take.
Gnomeling, it is good to see you again.
Yes, as is good to see you, sir. I was wondering if you might have a container of some sort, perhaps around yay big, and he'll motion his hands to indicate something fairly small. It needs to be sealable and resealable if possible.
He thinks for a minute and he continues to kind of pull the straps on Axel's armor.
If I remember right, I think we have an old iron tube that we used for a hitch. Don't know if I could put my hands on it, but I think it's here somewhere. Do the dimensions matter a lot?
It must be able to contain at least 40 spiders. So, if possible, of various sizes, you see. But as long as it can contain that, then it should be fine. Again, it should have a lid.
His eyebrows kind of rise even further at the strangeness of the request. Are you sure you want a metal container, Gnomeling? I don't think spiders are likely to jailbreak. I was thinking you were looking for almost a transportable safe for jewelry or coins of some kind, but spider seems like you wouldn't want a metal one. Would a wooden box do, perhaps?
Spiders are far more valuable than gold, sir.
Demeclees, may I ask? I thought you just needed a pet spider, not a whole bug collection. And I'm freaked out because that's just weird. Is this for spell weaving?
Yes, magic stuff.
If a wooden box will do, Demeclees, I would recommend speaking. There might be some merchants down on the docks. You never know what you'll find there. Or there's a tavern for noble travelers.
At that moment, Cedric jumps in the conversation.
Indeed. The owner of the Silver Stag is a fine purveyor of wares. Though this is an unusual request, I'm absolutely sure they would be able to help you.
Excellent. I'll look at that. I'll look to that. Should I speak with a particular individual?
Silva is the owner of the Silver Stag. She might be able to help you. I would also recommend checking down by the docks. We typically have many merchants come and visit us, and what you're looking for, although strange, is probably not out of reach for many of those who travel to our shores.
Excellent. I will look into that there. In the meantime, I think that's probably all I would require. Ooh, let's see. Would you happen to have a shard of obsidian just lying around, maybe?
Garrick looks at you quizzically as though you have two heads.
Demeclees, I work in iron, not in obsidian. Go to the docks, Demeclees, and you can find what you need there.
As he's like getting annoyed with Demeclees, visually I imagine him pulling my straps far tighter than needed. And I would be like, Demeclees, let's not anger him.
Well, yes, I guess I'll check near the docks if you're saying you can't even get a hint of obsidian. Ooh, do you have any little tiny iron figurines, perhaps, in the shape of a humanoid or a goblin? Something of a totem nature, you understand?
Am I losing circulation now because of these requests?
Yeah, I think that's the best way of explaining it. He just looks away from you, Demeclees, and looks to Nictor.
What about you? What armor fits you best?
And he gestures to other chunks of the shop.
What can I help you with?
Well, sir, I just prefer not to get hit at all. So I just don't need armor. I just need to just some soapstone to sharpen my spear with, and good to go.
Garrick kind of pauses for a minute and then looks to Cedric.
Are you sure this is the group that fought off the goblins and scouted Vardent Hollow? What kind of warriors don't use weapons and armor?
I'm going to lean into Garrick, and because I can speak Dwarvish too, I'm actually going to tell him, I'm good. This is good and tight. Ow. And I'm going to say, again in Dwarvish, what Nictor meant was a whetstone, not soapstone. I apologize for my companions.
Garrick kind of grumbles.
Kids these days don't use any weapons or armor.
And kind of loosens off your straps a little bit, Axel, in recognition of the Dwarvish, and then leaves, and you can hear him kind of banging around and blundering, looking for a whetstone somewhere in the forge. Cedric, now without a helmet but dressed in his full plate armor, carrying a trident, approaches the three of you.
Forgive Garrick's gruffness, for he is a strange character, though I say not too much different than the strange characters I find before me. Here we are headed to war, but only one of you are dressed in suitable garb.
Well, my companions have other means of combat, so I trust they'll... Demeclees here is the speaker of destiny. He's got it. He's confident in his abilities. He doesn't need plate.
Listener of destiny, seer of fates, actually, and future whisperer.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
Yes, well, far be it from me to decide how one should take the best course. I'll leave you to it, Demeclees, for we have other matters to attend to. The goblin that you had brought back to us did prove to be quite valuable. He confirmed about 250 to 300 goblins staying in Vardent Hollow. However, something else he mentioned was quite interesting, and it is not something that we discussed at breakfast. The goblin indicated that there were prisoners, carts and carts of prisoners being brought to Vardent Hollow. We are not sure what purpose. The goblin was unable to tell us, nor have we seen any evidence of this on the Crimson Pine Road, but he insisted that there were endless carts of prisoners being brought there. Though that does not influence our plan, it is interesting to note any additional information we can gather about this is of the utmost importance. Now, to the task at hand. At sundown we will march to Vardent Hollow, along with the militia and the Tide Guard, my personal retinue. We plan to march at sundown, as it will take us a number of hours to walk as far as Vardent Hollow, where we hope to catch the goblins unaware. When we arrive, the Tide Guard will storm the gate. It is up to you, Demeclees, and your party, along with Alric, who will be joining you, to get into the central keep and find the Driftwood Crown. I do not think we have the manpower to eradicate the goblins, just giving you enough time to get the crown and get out of Vardent Hollow. Demeclees, I do not doubt your leadership, but here my brother Alric will be in command. Take this horn, Demeclees. When you have recovered the Driftwood Crown, blow into it, sending a signal to the rest of us to retreat back to Seafall.
I'm going to actually try to sidebar with Demeclees and whisper to him, can you give us a sec?
Of course. Niktor, help me with these straps here on my back.
And I'm just going to motion him to take like maybe a couple steps away, and I'm going to squat down.
I'll get on my tiptoes.
I'm just going to say, do you think it wise we give the horn to Mr. Heart Issues? For lack of a better term?
Definitely not. Have we? Where's our healer? Don't we have one?
We need to figure that out. Yeah, I was just thinking that also. How about instead of giving the horn to Alric, why don't you just keep it, Demeclees? That's kind of what my gut's telling me. I had a nice hearty breakfast, and my gut is telling me you should keep it.
Yes, I wasn't really paying attention. What was it that they wanted me to do with the horn?
You were going to give it to Alric, and he was going to signal when we have the Driftwood Crown, but Alric is the one with the heart issues, so...
Yes, well, then why don't I take it? Then when we get the Driftwood Crown, I'll be able to blow into it, or perhaps give it to somebody else who can do that.
Yeah, I think that's wise, yeah.
Well, yes, I'll go and explain this whole circumstance to him.
Demeclees, if you would prefer to be the signal messenger of the horn, I see no problem with that. It matters not whether it's Alric or yourself that blows the horn.
Now, where will you be in the battle?
I'll be leading the force itself in the main battle. You and Alric and the other two...
And he gestures as Niktor is trying to figure out how armor works.
You will lead with Alric into the main keep. I don't think our force will get that far, so you will be largely on your own when you get into the main castle.
Aye. Well, then all the more reason for us to have the horn, so that we may notify when we have the crown in our possession and can be extracted.
Very well. Remember, Alric is in charge, my brother. You are to support him, but ultimately the decisions come down to him.
Aye. Agreed. Just making sure we're clear, it's not you that's going to have the heart problem. It's actually, Alric. Are you close with him?
I mean, he's my brother and master of coin.
You might just want to say a few kind words. We never get to say our last words again, you understand, right? In the off chance that me, the seer of fates and whisperer of destiny and all that, if I happen to be right, crazy not to believe, but yes, if I happen to be right in this case, you might want to leave on a good note, is all I'm saying.
Do you know something that I don't, Demeclees?
Well, the man was feasting upon bacon like there was no tomorrow, and I have a very strong sense that...
There really won't be a tomorrow?
Yes, correct. There will not be a tomorrow for some. I'll take the horn. As I say, treat your brother with kind words.
So, shall we finalize these battle plans?
There are no more plans to be laid, Niktor. You have a few hours now before dusk. Explore Seafall, see what it has to offer. Collect Demeclees' container for his spiders, if you will. Meet us at the front gates at dusk, and we will march to Vardent Hollow.
Very nice.
Sounds good to me.
And with that, almost with perfect timing, Garrett kind of returns with, looks like a larger metal tube, almost like a piston. It's about the same size as he is.
Demeclees, is this kind of what you're looking for? Obviously not the whole thing. We could cut it in half or, cut some chunk of it off and then seal it back up for a canister.
He kind of hands it to you, and it weighs a bajillion pounds. Like, it weighs probably like 75 pounds because it's an inch thick of cast iron.
Excellent. It's perfect. Nictor, you're quite strong. Maybe you can carry this for me.
That's a little egregious, don't you think?
Okay. What I'm hearing is that this is too heavy for perhaps the practicality.
Is there not a potion shop that we could just borrow a vial and just store things in there? We put a little hole in the top for some air. I don't know why we started with metal.
We'll search around, but keep it on off to the side for me. I might come back for it.
Yeah, I think the next stop is the Silver Stag after this.
As you wish.
And then just tosses it onto the floor.
I'll mutter under my breath. No spider carriers, no slug containers, no obsidian. What kind of town is this?
So before we leave the Hammer and Anvil, I am going to produce my stonemason's hammer and speak to Garrick, who is clearly perturbed at this point, but I'm going to do it anyway, and be like, you got anything like this, but bigger? This is surely not a tool for combat, but I've made it work.
Finally, a man who understands good steel.
He kind of eyes Nictor and Demeclees at the door suspiciously, still not trusting them. Axel, make a note that Garrick is now friendly in disposition towards you.
Please, follow me.
And he kind of leads you around one of the corners of what is functionally a pretty large blacksmith shop on the inside. And on the side is a whole wall of different hammers and axes.
Take what you may, and let me know how it works for you.
Okay, so I'm just going to take some strides. I'm going to have my hands behind my back as I'm inspecting each piece and admiring it. And I'm going to find the blunt objects. So that would be hammers. And I'm going to look at a beautiful two-handed warhammer and go, yeah, I can work with this.
I enjoyed making that one, eh? It'll crush a goblin head as good as you could imagine, just into a fine paste. Enjoy it, Axel, and may it ever bring you excellent goblin crushing.
Yeah, I can hear their screams as I peer into this weapon. Does she have a name?
No, I've never thought to name any of the things I make before, so nope, just hammer.
How about we go with Goblin Breaker? It's got a nice ring to it. As he was, lamenting the smashing of goblin skulls.
If it suits you, it's your hammer. You call it what you want. I always prefer my option, hammer. But what do I know?
All right, so I'm going to take Goblin Breaker and just kind of hold the shaft with two hands and kind of spin it like a lacrosse stick and just kind of feel its weight, extend it out with one arm, and then, just kind of sheath it on my back somehow. Or I would just carry it for the time being. Could I get him to outfit me with like a holster for it?
He picks up the hammer and rests the head of the hammer on his shoulder with the shaft sticking down towards his feet.
This is how you'd carry a weapon of this magnitude.
Okay, well, I'm going to take it from him and mimic what he just showed me and kind of turn on my heel and leave this back room. Does he have shields? Was that another option?
He points to a different wall where there's mostly wooden shields, but many of them have steel reinforcing around the edge.
Take any shield you'd like.
I am going to, just the same as the last wall, walk inspecting each piece with my hands behind my back, and finally stop at just a proportionately balanced kite shield. It's probably the same length in all directions, but just tapered like a kite shield, and I would be like, I think this one will suit me.
Cedric looks at all of you.
Is there anything else, or can Garrick fix my greaves?
So I would just nod my head like Garrick's good to continue his duties and walk back towards Demeclees and Nictor.
I want to quickly just admire Axel's new hammer there and say, you'll be able to shape many different rocks with something this size into smaller rocks. Demeclees? Shall we try and find you a container?
Perhaps we can go down to the docks where, as they said, you can find just about anything there. So I have a list of things that might be useful for future spells and portents. Perhaps we can dig around there and see if I might fulfill some of those items.
As we're walking towards the docks, I am actually going to take the lead in front of Demeclees, and I'm going to be doing like mock shield deflections in front of him. Like, I don't think so.
Excellent. Very good. Ooh, nice one.
Yeah, I can really get. Yeah, this is feeling good. And I just like crouch down on one knee with the shield down, and I cover all of Demecles' body behind me.
Not too close.
I'm like, yeah, I really like this.
Looking like a fine warrior now.
So as you walk down, this is actually the only piece of cobblestone road in all of Seafall is cobblestone down to the docks, and you actually pass by the statue of Mora on your right-hand side as you're walking down to the docks. Demecles, you remember this because you had a ship that was there, but you actually don't see the ship that you originally came in on. There are 3 wharfs that go out. 2 of them are small with fishing boats, and then there looks like there's 1 merchant ship in port. Stuff is still being unloaded.
As you approach the docks, there's a very slender individual setting up a table to sell market wares directly from the port. This in of itself is pretty unusual, as almost all of the vendors usually head on up to the market square, but this individual is selling them right directly from a small table in front of his boat.
Does this table look like it, like what to indicate what he's selling?
Yes, it does, actually. The table itself is very interesting because it's covered with eggs, small insects, and furs, like exotic furs.
Ah, I think I found a perfect place. May I go, follow me? Excuse me.
As the individual turns around, make a intimidation check, all 3 of you.
I rolled a 7.
Time to puff up the chest. 10 total.
I am scaring the shit out of this guy. I got a 19.
You actually see a well-dressed bipedal lizard.
Ooh.
Whoa, that's cool.
So in this interaction, Demecles and Nictor, you're going to take disadvantage with any negotiating that happens with the lizard. Axel, you're going to take advantage in any negotiations that you have with the lizard.
Good evening. What can Mehmet the exotic merchant do for you?
Did you say your name was Mehmet?
Mehmet.
Excellent. Well, I am Demeclees, the future whisperer, seer of fates, and whisperer of destiny, etc., etc. You've probably heard of me. I've been making waves here. I'm curious, have you got... I'm looking for a few things, but have you got a container for spiders?
Do you want the spiders as well, or just the container, Demeclees?
Really depends. I might peruse your spider collection, just to see. Perhaps you have one that could be useful. But definitely am looking for the container, you see.
So with a flourish, he kind of whips away a cloak that reveals a second table that he had draped over. You hear all the chittering and ticking, and you see little wooden cages with some scorpions and spiders and stick bugs and everything that you could possibly imagine all in the inside.
As you can see, we have many insects available.
Yes, excellent. You have a wonderful selection. Again, the container, though, insects are kind of all over the place, but do you happen to have a container that I could buy? I'd like something that maybe wood variety. Metal's quite heavy on these delicate fingers, you see.
What size of spider are you looking for?
Well, it's more of a variety of spiders I'll be storing. I need a container that could hold about 40 of them.
40 spiders?
They can all be quite small.
They must be small.
He gestures to one. It's maybe 4 to 5 inches by 4 to 5 inches square. It's wooden lattice, so they're bars going up and bars going across, and he kind of takes the lid off. You can still see in it, and there's like a very large hairy tarantula that's inside.
Would this be of significant size for your spiders?
Aye, this seems like it would be perfect. I don't really need the spider, though. The tarantula.
And with like a quick flick of his wrist, he just like tosses it over his shoulder off into the water behind it.
Look at that. No more spiders required.
And how much would you part ways with this?
Well, I'd have to sell it to you as though there was a spider. So, 2 gold pieces should allow me to spare such a container.
You have quite a few number of items here. You wouldn't happen to have any obsidian, would you?
Indeed, I do have some obsidian and other gems.
Oh, excellent.
He goes and picks up a chunk of black obsidian.
Do you need it to be cut or just raw obsidian?
Raw obsidian is fine. About yay big, and I'll make a little indication of like something about the size of my finger.
The piece that he's holding in his hand is a clementine orange worth.
I could part with the obsidian for a single gold piece, Demeclees.
Excellent. And
Whoa, Demeclees, a gold? A whole gold? We used to mine piles of that stuff.
You know, obsidian's not even a gem, as you thought you have classified, alright? Just want to make that clear.
So I'm just gonna glare at him.
Axel, can you make a wisdom check for me?
I am not wise. 19 plus 1.
It doesn't intimidate you. You hear a really deep serpentine voice push directly into your brain.
Stop talking, human.
And just in bewilderment, I'm gonna nudge Demeclees and be like, did you hear that?
No, I heard nothing. You wouldn't happen to have a cage that might just have captured a breath of wind?
I'm not sure what a breath of wind is, Demeclees. I could blow in any of these cages.
No matter. Do you happen to have a preserved firefly?
Not preserved, but I do have real fireflies.
No. I can capture my own fireflies if they're live. I need it preserved, really. How about a bottled thunderstorm? Have you got one of those?
That would be a magical creation, not something that I would stock.
I think. What about a hummingbird's eggshell?
I have a hummingbird's egg, but I don't have a shell. But I guess you could always make one from the other.
Right. I guess it's just the shell I need. I could always just dump the rest out. Oh, do you have a pocket watch with no hands?
Again, Demeclees, I don't think you've understood that I'm not a magical apothecary for wizarding lore. I sell pelts and eggs and gems of exotic nature.
So you're saying you don't have a vial of mermaid tears?
Don't have any mermaid tears, but I do have a vial if you need one.
Random question, do you have the talons of a lionel?
Oh, actually, yes. Do you have that? That would be very useful.
Let me check.
And he doesn't even move, and you just see him like think for a little bit.
No, we don't have any talons of a lion. I have the talons of a lion, but not a lionel.
Well, okay. I'll take the lot. What do you say? Maybe 2 gold pieces for the lot?
The lot being the cage and the obsidian, Demeclees?
Well, it's the wood box, right? The obsidian. You also said there was an egg, a hummingbird egg that you have. And I think you also said a preserved firefly was too much for you, right? You don't have a preserved one?
I only have live fireflies.
Well, how about you throw in a firefly for my inconvenience, because you clearly don't have much useful fireflies.
I guess that seems like a small price to pay for the deal. Shall I put the firefly inside the cage?
Oh, God, no. You don't want to mix up fireflies within a spider box.
Where would I put the Firefly then, Demeclees.
Here. And he'll just like raise up his hat and then like indicate to put it on top of his head and leave it inside of his hat.
As you wish.
And you see him open a small container with fireflies and pick one up with incredible dexterity and like grab it gently and then just put it, on the top of your head, under your hat.
I'll put my hat back over top and let it, you can I don't know if you can or can't see a light dinging around inside my wizard hat now.
So having my mind been messed with and then seeing that, I have like complete confusion on my face. Like, what are we doing kind of look.
You seem confused, human. I didn't catch your name, burly one there with all your metal and hammer. Is there anything you're looking for?
Yeah, the name's Axel. Do you have a strip of leather? Or maybe two?
I have many leathers. What animal leathers are you looking for? Ox leather, cow leather, gazelle leather, water buffalo?
Sorry to disappoint, but just regular cow leather, nothing exotic. I don't need a bottled thunderstorm either.
I think we have a few strips of leather.
He kind of like shuffles through some of his options on the table and then he goes silent again and then he comes back.
Yes, we have some strips of leather. How large a leather chunk would you need?
And I'm just going to motion one that's going to go around my waist. This amount? And then one that will span my shoulder to my waist.
Just give me a moment.
And he goes still for a minute again. And then he just, almost as though he ignores your request, he starts packing up Demeclees' box and the egg and he starts setting them aside. And then he says,
"These are for you, Demeclees."
And he holds out his hand for the 2 gold pieces.
Here you go. Pleasure doing business with you, Mammoth. Oh, one more thing. Do you happen to sell lizard leather? Or is that off the table?
Depends the lizard. But I've been known to have a few.
It's almost like me selling gnome skin, isn't it? I just really wanted to know what kind of merchant you were.
A greedy merchant. A sly merchant. And a merchant who has no compunction about using skin or scales as needed for clients.
Well, you let me know if you find yourself with mermaid scales.
I'll keep an eye out for some mermaid scales.
Axel, at this point, make a perception check.
That is 12.
All you feel on your leg is a little tap. And then you feel the same oppression on your brain.
Okay, I'm very skeeved out and gonna look down at my feet. I'm actually gonna grip my hammer tighter also.
It's 2.5 feet in length. It looks like a glistening black dragon. Same color as the obsidian, but it's shimmery. So the scales are very shiny in the way that it moves. So it's almost like a ripple of light every time it moves from the way that the sun glints on the scales. And he's deposited a strip of leather about the requirement that you've asked for at your feet.
And Mehmet, the required payment.
And then he kind of skitters back under the table.
I'm going to take Goblin Breaker and just kind of rest it on his table and go, how much for the leather?
Mehmet immediately goes to like stop your hammer from sitting on the table.
Please, human, that's heavy, and the tables can barely hold the weight of the goods. Keep the hammer on the ground.
I'm going to reluctantly put it on my shoulder.
The leather is just 2 silver pieces.
Okay, can I get 2 strips and I'll give you the 4 silver required?
Absolutely.
And he goes still for a minute again, and a couple of minutes later you see the little dragon appear again, tap your shoulder and deposit the leather, and then scurry back under the table.
Okay, so I'm going to actually pay Mehmed 5 silver, and I'm going to be like, next time stay out of my head.
Sorry, human. He's still learning that it is abnormal to communicate in that way, and he might not be familiar with the common tongue. He's young after all.
Okay, still weird, but alright. We'll let it slide. Next time it'll be better. We'll have a better sail. I'm going to put emphasis on the S.
I look forward to next time, human. Anything else?
No witch fingers, right?
No witch fingers, Demeclees.
Drat. It's hard to find good witch fingers nowadays, you understand. But you'll hold one if you find one, right?
No. I'm traveling with exotics. But if you really need such arcane goods, I recommend a location in Suncrest.
Aye, I guess it's just not a witch finger day. Well, next time.
You got any magic potions just by any chance? Any health?
No healing potions.
Just checking. Okay, no worries. No big deal. No, it's fine. Just checking.
Good luck.
And with that, the dragon kind of climbs up his back and perches on his shoulder.
Well, I have no need for anything else at this time, but what about you, Axel?
No, I'm quite good, and I'm going to be taking the leather strap that I was given and just tying a hefty knot in it like a belt.
I can't believe he was charging so much for spiders. I could find spiders all over the place. See? Watch this. And I'd like to investigate around and see if I can find a few spiders to put into my new spider box.
You're going to have advantage on that because you have inspiration.
Oh, jeez. Did that guy not have the right spiders? Or is it just cheaper to collect your own?
It's definitely cheaper to collect your own. The people like the spider inflation right now is really quite ridiculous. When you can just go pretty much anywhere and find anything with 8 legs that you can tear apart. Now scorpions on the other side, they're a little more rare and harder to find. If you want to spend top dollar for a decent scorpion, totally fair. But spiders, you should find your own.
Well, I wouldn't imagine scorpions helping you in the World Wide Web, but hey, you're the magician in here.
Technically, I'm a diviner. Magicians are parlor tricksters. I wouldn't trust a magician as far as I could throw him. But I think I see one over there. And I have a 15 on my looking for spiders.
So you found 2 different types of spiders in 2 different areas. So there's a very small body, very long legs, kind of like a daddy long legs type of spider, and then there's a wolf spider. That's a much larger spider.
Ah, perfect. One will eat the other, and we'll see. And I'll just throw them both in.
Well, Axel and I just watched Demeclees run around the town square collecting spiders. I gotta ask him, hey, you noticed Cedric really didn't bring up our other 2 companions, whether he talked to them or not. Meant to ask that, but I forgot. Do you think he knew where they went? They didn't really leave us a note, did they?
No, they didn't. Slinking away seems like it's on brand for Sly, but I can't say the same for Manx. I don't understand where he could have gone.
Yeah, someone known for being in the woods, needing to take his fancy lute player with him. Must be important, but yeah, if we see them, we see them. How's the spiders, Demeclees?
2 spiders, quite of good nature. See? Free.
Good job, man. Keep it up.
Shall we head to the town square?
Certainly.
As you walk the few hundred yards back on the cobblestone path of the market square towards the gatehouse, you see all the wreckage and rubble of the raid yesterday having been cleared away. Now there are a few hundred townsfolk militia in blue padded gambesons milling near the front gate. The group is poorly armed, with some carrying makeshift clubs, others pitchforks, and some nothing more than a few other farming utensils. As you make your way through the crowd to the front of the column near the gates and to where Cedric and Alaric were standing, you can instantly recognize the Tide Guard, the Tamir's personal retinue of fighters. They're dressed in the same castle-forged steel breastplates that Axel is wearing, along with a trident in their right hand, and many carry a net in their left. Cedric and Alaric stand at the front of the column. Cedric is dressed in fine plate mail with a long 2-handed trident. Alaric is dressed in what looks like hard whaleskin armor and carrying a harpoon. Cedric spies the party approaching and gestures you over.
Demeclees, you have arrived just in time. It is a 4 or 5 hour walk to Vardent Hollow. Walk with me. You and your party will guide us to the breach.
Then he pauses and addresses the townsfolk.
Souls of Seafall, I bid you listen to me. we march tonight into the jaws of our enemies to rip from them their worthless lives. As you know, the symbol of our house is the Kraken, and the Kraken takes no prisoners. A Kraken spares no enemies, and a Kraken shows no mercy. Heed my words, let the rage of the Kraken fill you, and let you rip the heart from the goblin scum that stole our crown.
Thanks for listening to this You Rolled a 1 podcast, Episode 3, Raising the Kraken Banner. This has been a Professor Epic Productions. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to leave us a review. If you want to get a hold of us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And remember, spilling condiments on yourself 2 minutes before you're due for a presentation is a real-life rolling a 1.